Okay, great. Right. So let's jump into it. Like I said, we want to make it a session that's as interactive as possible. And over the next 4 weeks, we're going to be sharing some insights into artificial intelligence, also known as AI. We'll be talking about it for the next 4 weeks and, hopefully giving everyone a better understanding of what AI is all about and how you can use it, how you can leverage AI in everything that you do on a day-to-day basis. Now, over the last few months, well over 6 months, I have been doing a lot of study, a lot of research, and a few courses in terms of artificial intelligence. Where I work at the moment, we were told that we need to learn how to use AI. Otherwise, if we don't get it, we might, we might not be kept much longer on the job. So AI is, definitely part of the future of where we're going. So it is important to have a great understanding of that. And while I was going through one of the videos that I was watching, or one of the seminars that I joined, the person that was speaking said something, or he drew something, and that really, really, really caught my attention. What did he do? He drew the image of a man on top of the world. So it was like an image, how people do the world, a stick view of the world, and then he drew a large stick man on top of the world. And he said that, that AI is like all the intelligence of all human beings put into like this one person. And then he drew, a stick man on top of the world. And he says that imagine someone, sitting on top of the world that has all the knowledge of the world. That wouldn't that person be awesome, fantastic, and and all of those kind of things. And when he said that, a scripture dropped in my mind. And I wanted to use this as a background and as a context for us as believers, and how we approach technology, and how we approach future advancements, and things like that. So when he did that, this scripture dropped into my mind, and I think it's in Corinthians, First Corinthians chapter 2, thereabouts, where it says that the foolishness of God is wiser than men, and the weakness of God is stronger than men. So it doesn't matter how smart mankind believes that they are, the best of us, the smartest of us, it all boils down to the foolishness of God. And that's God's foolishness, and God's foolishness will still be wiser and stronger than the best that men have to offer. So as we approach this topic of artificial intelligence, just to let you know that you have the Spirit of God, you have the Spirit of wisdom, you have the God that says that his foolishness is wiser than men. You have him living on the inside of you. In fact, Jesus was speaking to his disciples, and he said to them that, if when you get into a tough situation and you don't know what to say, I will give you what to say. Open up your mouth and I will give you what to say. I'll give you what to answer in those kind of situations, in those kind of scenarios. When Pharisees approached Jesus, and they were asking him all kinds of questions, and he was coming up with answers. If you, that's the kind of answers that something like ChatGPT will give you today on how do I answer my detractors. But even better than that, so they tried to catch him so many times in words and in actions and in other things, but the wisdom of God working on the inside of him would just not give them a way in. So I just wanted to put that to drop that here, that God's wisdom still trumps anything that men or man can do. And you always have that strong reliance on the wisdom of God in everything that we do. But that being said, we want to talk about artificial intelligence today. It is one of the tools that has been, invented and put forward, that is really advancing a lot of causes, in the world at the moment. Okay, so to start off with, we had over 26 people that filled out the forms. Thank you, everyone, to everyone that filled out the form. and we asked a few questions there in that form. So the first thing I'm going to ask is, what AI tool do you think was the most popular? What AI tool do you think was the most popular? So please just throw that in the chat. Let's see who's going to throw it in the chat first and who's going to be the winner. What AI tool do you think was the most popular tool that everyone that filled out the form put it in there? Okay, we have one answer. I want to see more answers in the chat. Are you sure about that? A few people have answered. Are you very sure about that? Yeah, I can see some answers. Okay. All right, great. So let's look at that. So there were 26 people that answered. There were 13 different AI tools that were cited. And yes, you guys are right. ChatGPT was the most popular. Okay. So I'll just go through some of these stats before we jump into today's course. So that's it. So ChatGPT was quite popular among everyone that had to fill out the form. We had Microsoft's Copilot being second. We had Google's Gemini. We have Anthropic's Claude. And then we have DeepSeek, we have Perplexity, and then there were a few other tools that were mentioned. Okay, so ChatGPT is quite popular. It's a popular tool. For those that joined not too long ago, I said if you're in a place where you can access one of your chat tools like a ChatGPT or a Copilot or Gemini or any one of those tools, please open that up on the side because I'm going to give you some exercises as we go along on some of these tools. Okay, so again, ChatGPT is quite known among a lot of people, and it is a really good AI tool out there. There's actually a website where you can go to and check the ratings of AI tools. And I think they update that quite regularly. So they'll show you the statistics of what kind of tests we gave to the AI model and how it was able to perform and stuff like that. You can always find that out. But we don't want to focus too much on tools, and then I'll explain why. Okay, right. So the next thing, in terms of the second question that was asked, what do you think was the most important thing or the most important use case that people wanted AI to solve for them? What do you think was the most important use case that people wanted AI to solve for them? So just throw something in the chat. Let me see. What was the most important thing that people wanted to use AI for? Can you give me some answers in the chat? I'd love to see your answers in the chat. Okay, someone says work-related tasks, projects. Anyone else to solve the most important problem that people wanted to solve? Someone said to use it like Google, like a search engine. Okay. Right, so let us see. Okay. And this is what we have. What do people want to use AI for? And we have work and business being the highest frequency of answers there. So, everyone wants to kind of use this for work or business. Research and learning came in a close second. We can add academics to research and learning. Content creation and brainstorming came in a close third, and then we have some other areas as well. Okay, so as we go through today's session, we'll touch on some of these use cases on how you can actually use AI to help you with that, and some of the tools and some of the ways to use it. Okay, so just some key insights from the forms that everyone submitted. So ChatGPT is what is well known. People want to use this for work. And the other thing that other tools that are popular are Copilot and Gemini. Okay, and then some people didn't give any answers. So we'll leave that there. So let's jump into the next thing. Okay. So we'll look at the introduction to artificial intelligence, and there's 6 areas that we're going to touch on today and bring it home. Now, I'll just tell you a bit for those that, a lot of you know me, for those that don't know me, I'll just introduce myself a little bit. So I am Olaolu Okwebi, for those that don't know me, a pastor in Transformation House, but I also work as a consultant in the space of business analysis. My background was in electrical and electronics engineering. So I'm not just a spiritual face or a pretty face. I think I have a little bit of brains as well. Like I said, I've been working on AI for the last 6 months or more because, like I said, I mentioned earlier, my workplace mandated that we should learn a few things there. And so I've been doing a lot of that. As part of what I do professionally in terms of business analysis, it's a very interesting space because with the skill set of business analysis, that skill set has been very instrumental in building a lot of IT solutions. But apart from building IT solutions, it's a kind of skill set that helps you to get into a place where you're able to solve problems. You understand frameworks on how to solve problems. And I think that is so important. And as we go through today's session, you're going to understand why this problem solving skill is so important for everyone. Okay. All right. My screen just went off for a minute. Can you guys still see me? Can you still hear me? Hello? Yeah. Okay. All right, great. Okay. All right, so let's get into it. So a brief history of AI, or artificial intelligence as it's known. AI has been around for much longer than we think. It was actually birthed in the 40s and the 50s, thereabouts. And, yay, Great Britain was quite instrumental in some of that. Some of you have heard of Alan Turing and something called the Turing test. So when artificial intelligence came up as a thing, Turing came up with this test to find out how intelligent a computer system or robot or such things could be. And that was known as the Turing test, and is still kind of used today to try and find out how intelligent systems can get. So AI has been around for a long time. If you've been speeding and you've got a ticket from speeding, that was AI. that was AI that got you there. If you have a thermostat in your house that regulates heating, that's some kind of artificial intelligence there. Like I said, my background was in electrical and electronics engineering, and one of the modules that we had to do talked about something called feedback. And what that module was all about is how machines can get feedback from their environment and change, what they're doing based on the feedback in their environment. Again, which is all part of AI, part of what AI does. So it's been around since then. In the 70s and 80s, in the 50s, 60s, there was the governments were really sponsoring it. 70s and 80s, there was not much that was put into it in terms of funding. But then in the 90s, it got picked up again, a lot of funding, this time into something called machine learning. And then they came up with a computer called Deep Blue that was able to beat, the world's best chess player. And then it just grew from there. In the 2010s, they got into something called deep learning and neural networks. So again, they were able to get more powerful computers that was able to process a lot more information. The GPUs, what we call the GPUs, are chips in the computer that help the computer to process information at very quick rates. So there was a breakthrough in a lot of that kind of engineering. And so computers were able to do a lot more with so much more information. I remember when computers came out when I first got in contact with computers in the 80s, there was something called the floppy disk or the hard disk. How many of you have ever heard of the floppy disk or the hard disk? Anyone? Can I see show of hands, thumbs, chat? Does anyone know about the floppy disk, hard disk? Yeah? Okay, great. All right, so the size of a floppy disk, I remember at that point in time, was about 64 kilobytes or some ridiculous amount like that. Now, your phone, could have up to 128 gigabytes of data. The floppy disk was, big thing like that. Your phone is, probably a similar size, but has hundreds of thousands of times, can hold hundreds of thousands of times more data than the floppy disk back in the 80s. And it has just grown and grown and grown from that point on. So that's just a brief history that AI has been around for a long time. What the hype is all about now is what we call generative AI. So from the 2020s, from 2020 and onwards, we got into something called generative AI, and that's what's making all the news. So your Chat GPTs, your Geminis, your Claude, your Perplexity, your DeepSeek, and all of those tools that are out there, they work on the concept of generative AI. And what's that all about? Because of all the compute power that has been around, they were able to train computers. These models, also known as large language models, they were fed a lot of information, a lot of language information, and billions and billions of writings and examples of how humans talk and communicate was fed into the computers. And then they were able to invent some type of memory for the computer to be able to understand if you've asked a question, to be able to have a short-term memory, to look back at what you've asked, and then be able to almost hold a conversation with you. And that was done through what we call prompting, and we're going to talk about prompting. So in a prompt, you have a context window where you type in your stuff, and then you put in a question or you put in a statement. And what the computer does, or what the large language model does, is that it looks into its database and it's making predictions. So it's not necessarily thinking. What it is doing is making predictions on the basis of what you have written. So if you say, I want a good meal of pasta, that large language model is going to go into its database and it's going to be searching around what have people said about a good meal of pasta. And then it will be able to come back to you based on that prediction of what a good meal of pasta looks like. And then it gives you a response. So it's a lot of prediction that it does there, and it gives you an output. So that's just, a very, very basic way of how large language models work. It's a lot more complicated than that, but we don't need to understand that. The next thing that we want to talk about is how to engage with AI. And this is one very important thing that we need to take away tonight before we start any practicals and start looking at any of the other of the AI models that we have. But how do you actually engage with AI? It's important for us to have a framework in terms of how we engage with AI. And there are 4 things or 4 Ds that, I'll share here. And there's so many other models out there or other frameworks that would advise you on how to engage with AI. And this is really important. So the first one, the first D is to define. So what exactly do you want to get out of the AI? What is the use case? What is the problem you're trying to solve? What is the answer that you're looking for? What is the outcome that you're looking for? You need to define this clearly. If it's a task that you want done, if it's an audience you want to speak to, you have to define very, very clearly what is the outcome that I want. Okay, now that's really important, and I'll explain why as we go along. But define what you want out of your engagement with AI. Then the next thing is to be able to describe it. So this is where context comes in. I'm sure you've heard about context engineering or prompt engineering and all those kind of things. What that is just giving the large language model or the AI chatbot a context around what you are trying to do. It's not an all-seeing, all-knowing entity. It is limited. It is a computer system. For those of you that studied some type of computer systems back in the day, they would have told you garbage in, garbage out. And it's still the same thing with AI models as well. It will only give you a response as good as your definition of what you are looking for. So being able to describe what you're looking for is really, really important. What does good look like? You have to define some of that, and we'll talk about prompt engineering and how you can put all of this into the context of the AI and how it can help you. And then the next one is to direct it. Okay, so in terms of how AI responds to you, you can control what type of response or how it gives you a response. So for instance, if you're looking for a report, how many pages of a report are you looking for? Do you want it in bullet points? Do you want it in a table? How exactly are you expecting the response to come out? So this is where the direction comes in. So you are able to direct the large language model or the AI, I'll use that interchangeably, on what exactly you are looking to get out of your engagement with it. And then the final bit around your engagement strategy is dialogue, or again, discern. So you're going to go through iterations. So that's it. You say stuff to it, it will give you stuff, and then you go back and forth until you arrive at an answer that is a great result for you. So you can go back and forth with the AI. That's the dialogue. Discernment, in terms of discernment, this is very important. And as you begin to engage with AI, begin to test it out so that you know how much you can trust it. Is AI going to destroy the world? Are computers going to destroy the world? I don't know. I honestly don't know. And there are lots of movies that tell us that it's going to destroy the world and stuff like that. But the AI can give you wrong information from time to time, which is known as hallucinations. So sometimes the AI would make up answers that are not real. It will make up stuff that is not real. So, from time to time, you just have to watch out for that. So this is where discernment comes in. And as you begin to use AI, start using it on things that you know very well. Use it in areas that you know very well and see what kind of answers it gives you. When I started really delving into AI, one thing I'll do is I'll ask some questions, and when I see the responses that would come out, I'll check those responses, and then I'll go on to Google and Google some things, and then also find my own resources on, okay, this thing actually knows what it's talking about. In the last few months, they've improved how AI interacts with you, and you can ask it for sources. You can ask it to reference sources that it has gone to, and then it will give you references of the sources. When you do that, the possibility of what we call hallucination goes down drastically. So you can get AI to check its work against what exists on websites and stuff like that. So you do have to check, its output, because sometimes it will give you funny answers. And that's That's called hallucination. So these 4Ds are really, really important when you approach the subject of AI. There's a lot of talk about, oh, you're going to leave AI to take your brain. You're not going to be thinking anymore, and all kinds of things that you would hear out there. Don't get caught up in too much of that. What you need to do is to have this framework. When you use this framework, AI will make you more intelligent. I was reading an article today, and it says that AI can either make us geniuses or it can make us dumb. Okay, so there are two paths to follow in every way, in everything in life. That's the way God has designed everything. Adam and Eve had a choice: the tree of life or the tree of good and evil. They had a choice, and that's the same thing with AI. You can partake of AI and enjoy a tree of life experience, or you can partake of it and you enjoy a knowledge of good and evil experience. But it is down to you. It is up to you. And how you engage with it is what is very important. So today I'll be talking about a lot of how we can engage with AI. And please use this as the foundation of how you go forward with AI. I know, I'm not trying to teach you guys how to suck eggs and all of that, but and some of you have been using it, for months, probably even for years. But some of these frameworks and some of this structured use of it is going to take you a lot further, and I'll show you how. Okay. So next thing we'll talk about is some of the capabilities that AI has, and we're going to do some exercises here. So if you have your another phone or a computer, or you can switch between apps, you're a multitasker, good on you. Let's do some practical stuff right now. So go on to a ChatGPT, go on to a Claude, go on to a Google Gemini, go on to a DeepSeek, whatever AI you use. Okay, have that handy. We're going to try something now. AI is great at what we call text-to-text capability. And what happens in the text-to-text capability is that it's able to help you summarize information. It's able to help you translate information, summarize it, and all of that. Okay, so I'd like you to go onto your AI chatbot now, and go to a website, a Google website of a poem or a book, and copy a paragraph from that poem or from that book and post it into your AI chat window. And then underneath that thing that you've posted, or above that thing you've posted, I want you to type in "summarize this text for me." Okay. So can we try that in 2 minutes? Let's give you 2 minutes to try that. Okay, anyone want to share what their results were? Does anyone want to come off mute and just say what you put in and how the AI responded?
Yeah, so good evening. So I did this the Book of Enoch.
Yeah.
So and then I put the summary. So one thing I really like is it's a paid book, but there's a summary of the book, which is like half a page. And then I copy the summary of the book, put it into I use Gemini for this, put it into Gemini, and then it summarized it into like 3 or 4 lines.
Yeah.
And then one great thing that I love with Gemini personally is that it gives you like highlights. So what it has done is, instead of you going over the entire half page, is done highlight. So for instance, let me just quickly. So So from it gave the key highlights it gave me. It talked about how it's a biblical influence, historical context, canonicity, academic value, and then he's asked me, "Oh, do you want me to do more things?" So it's given me like a clearer perspective of what the book is.
Okay,
So yeah,
fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And that's what it can do. So that's what AI does now. It will summarize stuff, and then it will ask you a follow-on question on, what else do you want me to do, based on the question that you've asked me. So that's called the text-to-text capability. It also has a speech-to-text capability. So right now, you can actually speak to your AI. So most of your AI modules, it has a microphone symbol, okay? And with that microphone symbol, you'll be able to talk to your AI. So let me just try and show you that. So if you see my chat, this is my ChatGPT screen. I'll just go on there. And you can see here on my ChatGPT screen that I can click on that button and I can dictate something. So I can say, hey, ChatGPT, can you give me what the weather is in Bedford today? Okay, wait, I need to enable my mic. Okay. Hi, ChatGPT, can you give me what the weather is in Bedford today? So you can see I just spoke and it has typed out what I said, and then it's processing, it's thinking about it, and it's going to give me an answer. It's searching the web now. Okay, so now I know that it's not going to hallucinate. It didn't just pick up, any temperature from anywhere. It's actually gone to the website. I saw it searching the web, and it's giving me an answer. This is what the weather in Bedford is today. I only asked, well, I asked for the weather, and it's giving me temperature. It's giving me wind. It's giving me some summary. It told me there's rain and where the rain is coming from and all of that kind of thing. So it has what we call the speech to text capability. So I can talk to it and it will translate my speech into words. Okay. And this is used, one of the use cases for this is in meetings. So there are a lot of tools out there that you can use to transcribe meetings and then also summarize meetings. So there are a lot of great tools out there that will help you with that. Okay, so let's go on to some other things that it can do. It can do text to image, and in a text to image, you describe something, and then it will generate an image for you. So let's try something now. So I want you guys to on the chat model that you use and say, hey ChatGPT, hey Google, or whichever one you're using, I want you to generate an image of a prince or princess on a horse that is going to their palace. Just say that into your chat model and see what it comes up with. While you're doing that, I'll try it on my chat GPT as well. Let's try it on that. So actually speak that. Hi, ChatGPT. Can you give me a picture of a prince on a dark horse that's riding to his palace? So it's thinking about it. Okay, so it takes its time to generate. So it's giving me a noble prince riding towards the castle. Okay, how many of you got this exact same image? Anyone with this exact same image? No. Okay, I don't think so, because the large language models, they are what we call they're not deterministic. And what that means is in a deterministic system, if you say A plus B, it will always give you You know, if you say 1 + 1, it will always give you 2. With a non-deterministic system, even if we all say the same thing, it would give us different outcomes because it's thinking in its own way. So someone has a princess and a horse, someone has a white horse. And if you notice something here, based on my instruction and based on what it's shown me now, can somebody just unmute and tell me what the problem is with based on my instruction and based on what ChatGPT has given me?
You asked it to ride towards the castle, but it appears to be riding away from the castle.
Absolutely, absolutely fantastic. Let's somebody give that woman a prize. Yeah.
But why is that, Pastor Laulu? Because I did ChatGPT and said princess towards the castle, and my picture actually shows towards the same castle.
Yeah. Okay. So yours is going to the castle. Okay. Okay. That's awesome. Well, you can see. So this is what we talk about when we talk about hallucinations and when we talk about discernment and checking out what it's doing. Okay. So I said going to a prince that's riding to his palace, and it's showing me a picture of a prince riding away from the palace. So I'm going to just tell it now. I asked you to give me a picture of a prince going to his palace, but you've showed me a picture of a prince riding away from his palace. Is there a reason why? Okay, so let's see what it says. Okay, and then it comes back and it's telling me that's a good catch, no intentional reason. This is just how the image generation works sometimes, okay? And then now look at what it's telling me. It says my prompt was ambiguous. Okay. Yeah. And now it's challenging me and saying riding to his palace doesn't always enforce direction visually. The model may show the palace behind as context. Yeah. Composition bias. AI often frames castles in the background for scale and drama, even if the subject is heading towards them. Yeah. No directional constraint without wording like approaching, facing the palace, or seen from behind, riding towards the gate, it guesses. So now it's telling me that I don't know how to speak English. Yeah, but but these are you know things that we all need to learn. And when we start talking about prompt engineering, you understand how to get exactly what you want. So I in my statement, I left room for it to be able to hallucinate. But the better you're able to make your context, the better you're able to make your results coming out of it. Okay, so let's move on. That was text to image. Now we have what we call image to text. So what happens here is that you can look at an image, or you can upload an image into ChatGPT, and then you ask it to describe the image for you. Now, why do we do that? I created and I'll talk about projects and and GPTs. So I created a GPT that I wanted to be able to analyze music for me. And so what I had to do in order to be able to get the right wording was to feed some music into the model and ask the model to describe the music for me. And so it was able to give me all the terminologies that I needed to be able to describe what kind of music I'm trying to create. Now, the same thing can happen with an image as well. So another very quick exercise I want you guys to do now is to take upload an image to your ChatGPT and ask it for a description of that image. The power of this is that when you now want to create an image of something, you have an idea, you know the right words to use. People that work in photography and the arts, there are certain words that they use to describe the outcomes of what they want. And the large language model understands those words. So if you use those words, then it will give you amazing outputs. But if you don't know those words, you won't be able to use them, and then it won't be able to tell you what it is. So what you can do if you're lost for words on how to describe something, you can upload an image, you can upload a music file, or whatever you're trying to get an accurate description of. you upload that into the large language model, and then it will give you a description of what exactly is going on in that image. There was an exercise I did some time back, and I didn't want to, I don't want to waste too much time because we have other things to cover. But I uploaded a picture and I said, describe this image for me. And so it described the image for me. Then I now asked the question that give me a prompt that would help me to recreate this image. And then it gave me a prompt to be able to do that. And then I took that prompt and I put it into another large language model. So I took it out of ChatGPT and I put it into Gemini. And when Gemini created the image, the building that was in the background, the color of the building, the windows of the building, the garden that was in front of the building, it's recreated that. It wasn't exactly the same thing as what I had given, but it was so similar. So somebody could have looked at both pictures and said, oh, wow, is this in the same area or the same street? But that's what the power of being able to get the large language model to describe things for you is very important. Okay, so that's the image or text generation. So very quickly, does somebody want to just share their response on what happened when you uploaded an image? What did it give you? Anyone want to quickly share what image did you put in and what description did it give you?
I mean, I can share. I just wanted someone else to speak, so I'll wait a few seconds.
Okay. All right, guys, don't let Bolupe be the only person speaking tonight. I don't mind, but let's all participate in this. Or if you're not doing it, just give me a thumbs down. I didn't do it, so so we can move on, so we know who's actually doing the exercises or not. Okay, Bolupe, can you describe what you did?
So I put the image that I shared on the church group. I'll delete it when I finish speaking, just so everyone can have access to it.
Yeah.
But that's the image I put in. It's an image of my store that I took this evening.
Yeah.
And I'll just quickly read out the description that is given to me. So I just said, please describe this image. And it says, this image shows the interior of a boutique store called the Morris Village. The store has a clean, modern aesthetic with white walls and dark gray flooring. Now, what I love about it again is that it gives key features. So it breaks it down. So it talks about signage. It says it has signage, prominent, describes the signage, merchandise, bags. It talks about shelving and says black metal shelving units, old various decorative items, including vases, bowls, and stacked textiles. It talks about hearts. It says it shows a large style, It talks about lighting, talks about the storefronts. And then he asked me, would you like to focus on a specific area of the shop or perhaps help you identify some of the items on the shelves? So that's what's given to me. So again, why I love it is the breakdown, to be honest.
Absolutely, absolutely, and that's an amazing example, and it has called your shop a boutique now. So in all your advertisements, you can now use that word to say, come to my boutique, because ChatGPT has looked at it and says, based on the data that I have, what I'm seeing here is in the class of a boutique. Yeah, so this is really, really important in terms of how you can use ChatGPT. So all of these areas are important. The next one we'll talk about is code generation. Now, over the last few months, I'm not a programmer. I had an opportunity to do, well, I wanted to study computer science when I went to university, but there was no space for me, so I had to do electrical engineering. And so I just gave up on the computer science thing. But now, I've been able to develop quite a few applications and complicated applications with the large language model writing code for me, telling me what to do. And I've been able to build, applications that a developer, a computer scientist will be able to build as well, based on, the ability of ChatGPT. So it can do that for you. It can do data analysis. So it can look at spreadsheets, it can look at patterns, and then give you an output on that. And then text to audio, you can actually talk to it. So there are AI models that allow you to talk to the model, and then it would or to type in what you want, the voice or the video that you want, and it will generate that voice or video for you. So there are models like that. You know, again, Google Nano Banana is really very good. When you say this, I describe this image, and then I want to generate a picture for me. Okay, so it can do that. Right. And then the last bit or the last capability is what we call agentic tasks. Now, this is taking it to another level. We won't be able to cover much about agentic because it's not an introduction to artificial intelligence. It's actually going into a more advanced use of artificial intelligence. But in terms of the simple tools that we have, like ChatGPT now has an agent mode, and you can get it to do certain things for you within that agent mode. It's quite easy to use that from the ChatGPT interface. There are other tools like Claude Code that does a lot of that as well. So again, I've been doing a lot of that, building agents to carry out different tasks and assignments, but it takes a bit to get there. But you can start from, you know, the simple things that it can do. Now, one of the powerful use cases with some of these things that ChatGPT does is that I had a washing machine, no, dishwasher about 4 months ago, and my dishwasher broke down. It stopped working, and I was like, oh my God, this thing has stopped working. I'd canceled my insurance on it, and you know, I was now like, okay, now I have to call out an engineer to find out what's wrong with it. It's going to take them time to come. When they come, they're going to charge me call out. And then, you know, take a while to get the parts and replace the parts and everything. So what did I do? I took a picture of my dishwasher and the error code that was on it. And I put that picture in ChatGPT and said, hey, my dishwasher has stopped working, and this is the error code that I'm seeing. Then it asked me for the serial number of my dishwasher. And that's not sensitive information. So I put it in there, and then it told me that based on this error, based on this style of machine, this is what is the problem. Your dishwasher has there was a pump in it that heats the hot water. That pump is damaged. And that's what your problem is. And then it posted a video, a YouTube video in the chat response as well. So I watched that YouTube video and I saw exactly what was going on. And so I now asked it, okay, now I need to get a replacement pump. You know, where can I get a replacement pump for, you know, for a reasonable price? I want it as at the cheapest price that you can get it, but high quality and all of that. I put all of that in, and then went back to the internet, did some research, and then showed me where I could get it. And I said, no, I don't want to get it from these sites. I want to get it from Amazon. Is it available on Amazon? It helped me to do that. I got onto Amazon, I ordered the part. The part cost me less than £100. I replaced the part myself, and the dishwasher is still working up till now. Okay, so that is a very powerful feature that AI can help us with. Another tool that I'm going to show you how to use now is Gemini. So how many of you have a Google account? How many of you have a Google account? Please indicate. Let's indicate. Okay, all right, one person. Yeah, 2 people. Okay, right, great. I can see that. Now, if you have a Google account, you have access to something called Google Gemini. Okay, this is Google Gemini. It's the symbol. So the symbol looks like this. You can see that Google Gemini. That's what the symbol looks like. Okay. Now, Google Gemini is a very powerful tool. And one of the things I've started doing with Google Gemini is that, again, this is based on my learning. Google Gemini you can actually share your screen with Google Gemini. And based on whatever you're doing, it can actually see what's on your screen and guide you through what it needs to do. If you have a Google account, go onto your phone go on to Google Gemini. I'm going to go on to my phone now. Let me see how I can show you guys this. I go on to Gemini. Okay, so if you can see my phone, right? If you can see my phone, this is what Google Gemini looks like on the phone. Okay, so it will be an interface like that. Now, right in the bottom corner of your Google Gemini, okay, you'll see like a settings button on the right-hand side. Okay, it's like some bars with a star on the top of it. Now that is an AI assistant, and what you do is that once you press that, it opens up a blue screen. Okay, and you can see that, and it can hear me. It can hear what I'm saying. Okay, and then I can put my camera on. Okay, so let's turn it around, and I can say, hey, Gemini, can you look at my screen? And can you tell me what exactly is going on my screen?
I can't quite make out the details on your screen. The icons and text are a bit blurry. Is there a specific program or area you'd like me to focus on?
Okay, let me calm down a little bit. Can you see my screen now?
I can see the text better now. It looks like you're on a web page, and there are a few different paragraphs and links visible. Is there a specific part you have a question about?
Okay, so the web page that you're looking at is the Google Gemini web page. And I just wanted to find out how I could generate an image from this page.
To generate an image on the Google Gemini webpage, you typically type a prompt into the chat box, similar to what you might be doing now. Try describing the image you want, and it should create it for you.
Okay, did you guys hear that?
Yes, we did.
Okay, awesome. So now that's what I do with Google Gemini. So the other day I had a problem with the car. We hadn't put in, the diesel went really low, and then the car started making a funny sound and all of that. So I opened up Google Gemini, put on this video view, and then I showed it the engine and said, look, my engine is making this sound. What do you think the problem is? And then it was able to tell me that, well, maybe there's low fuel or something or the other. I thought maybe my engine is going bust. And I said, is my engine going bust? And he said, no, that's not the sound of your engine going bust. It could be this, that, and the other. But get the mechanic to check it out. So it was able to give me reasonable responses about what I was asking it for. So again, you can use that on your phone because the functionality works better on the phone. Just ask it questions. Over the week we were in Leeds with my mom, and she wanted me to fix her thermostat. Now her thermostat is not the brand of thermostat that I use, and so again I went to Google Gemini, put it on, I showed her the picture of the thermostat and said, I need to configure this thermostat. What should I do? And right there on the screen, it showed me like a white circle, and then it's pointed the white circle to the image I was showing it on the screen and said, here, that's the program button, press the program button. So I pressed the program button, and I said, I can see some numbers on the side, and it says, yes, the number 1, 2, 3, this is what you need to do. When it's on number 1, press the plus button so that you can increase the temperature, press this button so that you can increase the time. It walked me through on how to program that thermostat for my mom. And I programmed it within 15 minutes and it's working. Yeah, I didn't have the manual. I didn't know what to do. In the past, you'd have had to go onto Google, search for the manual, download the manual, read the manual and try to understand it. But now you can cut out a lot of that by just using some of these tools. Okay. I
Sorry,
think
Pastor Lalu, I'm so sorry. Can I please see the icon again? I didn't quite, because I've tried to go on my interface and I don't see the icon where the one you clicked on to get to the blue screen.
okay, so right beside the okay, let me put it here. So right beside the microphone button,
Yeah.
yeah, can you see that
Oh
image
yeah.
beside the microphone
Let me have a
button?
look.
Yeah.
Oh no, I haven't got that. That's weird. Okay, anyway, I'll share that with you later.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
that's fine.
Okay.
Okay. I've just got the microphone one pro and then microphone, and I haven't got any other.
That okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So just check it out. There's that
Yeah, I'll come
there's
back
that
to you.
thing beside it. But it's also available on the web interface as well. And you'll be able to share your screen. So in terms of people that want to learn new software, you can open up your software, open up your Google Gemini, share your screen, and ask it what to do, and it will walk you through on how to use that software. That's how powerful AI has become now. Okay, so let's go get back to it. So we'll go to the next thing. So we've talked about the capabilities of AI. Now let's look at this question. When should I actually use AI? When should I use it? Okay. And this is an important thing that we need to talk about and we need to cover. So the few ways that we can or the few reasons why we should use AI. So number one, repetition. If you're engaged in a lot of repetitive tasks, you can actually get AI to help you at that. And one of the things that we'll probably learn over the next few weeks is how to create what we call projects in ChatGPT. And that is you write certain types of prompts that's able to repeat tasks for you. So if there's something that you do all the time, like maybe you write a weekly report, there's a way that you can write a prompt and create a project that would help you, or a GPT that would help you to write that prompt. All you have to do is maybe upload the image of your meeting notes, or you give it an instruction, and then it will create the report. So when you're doing things that are repetitive, by all means, get AI to help you with that. When you're doing things that are difficult or complex, AI is able to help you to simplify things that are difficult. One of the prompts that people use a lot of times is when they are reading a manual that is too, doesn't seem to make sense. You can put in a prompt and say, hey, ChatGPT or Google or whatever, can you explain this to me as if I'm a 10-year-old or as if I'm a 6-year-old? And it will give you a proper breakdown of that. What I've started doing with one of the AI tools I use is when I get contracts from software that I've signed up to, I put in the contract into the software, because nobody ever reads their contracts. How many of you actually read software contracts? Except their lawyers. I know Toby's on the call, she probably does that, but most of us don't bother to do that. But now you can get the AI model to go through it for you, and then you ask it questions. What should I be concerned about in this contract? And then it will give you a breakdown of what the contract is saying and what you should be concerned about. And so that way you're easily able to complete difficult tasks. Okay. Next thing is in terms of speed. If you want to do things fast, quickly, again, AI is a great tool to help you. You can do things manually, but again, there are better ways of doing things. And as technology improves, when we embrace technology, we're able to do things faster and most times better when technology improves. So we need to take advantage of that. Of the use of technology. Sorry. Yep. So yeah, we need to take advantage of the technologies that we have. Then scaling in terms of doing more, if you want to do more, and that's one of the key things that AI is going to help people with. A lot of the leaders of AI companies have said that with the use of AI, we're going to see the rise of a single person company that makes over $1 billion. Yep. And why is that? AI can help you scale things with a small team. And I told you at my workplace, they're really pushing us to use AI because our teams are small and there's so much work that we have to do. So what they've told us is that we don't want to grow the team, but we want to do more work. And AI is going to help us to get there, to scale there. So for everyone that's able to understand how to use it, they keep their job because they're able to do more with this. Ideas, being able to generate ideas. So it can help you with brainstorming, alternative ways of thinking. It can be a good devil's advocate, even though we don't like the devil because we're a church. I just thought I'll throw that in. And then it can help you to reframe stuff. Okay, and then it helps you to structure stuff. So one of the things that we use AI for in Transformation House, when we have meetings that are recorded, we get the AI to summarize those meetings for us, to give actions that come out of those meetings. And I'm seeing that a lot at work now. So at work now, we don't have anybody who's a scribe. We just record it on AI. Then the person that organized the meeting will send us the notes with the actions. So it sees everybody's name that joined the meetings and it knows what actions were given to them. And then it puts it in there and bang, we're good to go. We save a lot of time trying to going back and forth and trying to do stuff. So these are some reasons or some reasons why we should use AI or what helps us decide when to use AI. Now, when not to use AI, okay, so it talks about, when there are high stakes situations where human accountability is important. AI is not a real thing. AI is not a real person. One of the courses I had to sit on in terms of understanding AI was in terms of decisioning, and it was such a brilliant course on decision making. Now, on its own, it was therapy in terms of how to make decisions, but then they now brought the crux of it down to how does decision making work within AI. And I know somebody put that as a use case. I want AI to help me to make better decisions. It's an absolutely fantastic tool in order to help you make better decisions. But what you have to understand is that when a decision is made, it is solely your responsibility. You are taking full responsibility and accountability for any action that you're going to take on the basis of the information that you have received from the large language model. And that is very important because one of the things that the lady that took that course said was that, look, AI is based on, the data that it has got from the web and from different sources. And if you give AI the power to make decisions for you, what is actually happening is that the AI is not the one making the decision for you. Is the people that have programmed the AI that are making the decisions for you. Unfortunately, there was someone who was listening to AI and AI advised them to go ahead with suicide. That has happened. There's been a few cases like that, but again, that's all based on what it has got from the internet and from its training model. So AI has been trained on on psychotherapy. It has been trained on mental health and a lot of things. So it reads up case studies and finds what people have said. And if you interact with it in a certain way, it will give you certain types of answers. So as you are the one in control, and it's very important that I say that again. When it comes to AI, you are the one in control. The AI is not the one in control. You are. Adam and Eve were the ones in control in the garden. Satan wasn't the one in control. He was suggesting stuff, didn't mean they had to pick it up, didn't mean they had to do it. Ultimately, when a decision is made, you are the one that is responsible for that decision that is being made. You are the one that's going to be responsible for the consequences of your action. Okay, so that's very important. AI can help with all of this, but then just know that the final decision that is taken is squarely on your shoulders, and that would guide you, a lot more. Okay, so let's move on to the next thing. And we want to talk about prompts. And I'll share 2 frameworks on how to write better prompts to get something, to get a better response out of AI. Okay, So let's do an exercise now. We're all going to do this together, but I'll demonstrate it on my screen for the sake of everyone watching. So somebody give me a scenario of something that we want from AI. Type it in the chat or mute yourself and just tell us, you know, something that we want to ask AI for and we want an answer out of it. Somebody help me. Can anyone think of something? Type it in the chat or unmute yourself. And just tell me we want to ask AI to do something for us. I want to show you how the frameworks. Okay. Tell me how to start a church of 1,000 members in the UK by January 2027. Thanks, Bolipe. So let's ask that question, okay? Okay, so I'm going to go on here and we're going to ask that question. Can you tell me how to start a church of 1,000 members in the UK by January 2027? Okay, so this is Gemini. And Gemini is thinking about it. Okay. All right. So, and this is the answer it's come back with. I love the ambition. You're looking to avoid relegation. You want to win the Champions League in your very first season. Okay, but as an AI looking purely at the stats and the reality of the UK landscape, I have to give it to you straight. Building a church of 1,000 members from scratch by January 2027, which is barely 10 months away, is a monumental task. To put it into perspective, the average Sunday congregation size across the UK is around 84. Wow. For the Church of England, the median average weekly attendance recently dropped to just 26. Okay, so it's given me, you know, it's giving me a feedback. Okay, now based on this prompt. Yeah, now in this prompt, I've asked a question and I've just said, can you tell me how to start a church of 1,000 members in the UK by 2027? Now let's look at this framework and see what it would give us differently. So the first framework is the RTF framework, where it talks about a role, talks about a task, and it talks about a format. Okay, so we can ask that same question, and then we assign a role. So we're going to tell the chat model that you're going to act as a church planting expert. And then what's the task? We want a report on how to start a church or how to get a church of 1,000 members by January 2027. And then the format of the outputs. Can you give the output in a bulleted list, for instance? We can say something like that. Okay, so let's do that differently and see what it will give us this time. Okay, so okay, you are an expert church planter based in the UK, and you have years of data on successful church plants in the UK. I want you to help me devise a plan on how to grow my church to 1,000 members by January 2027. I want the output of this report in a very highly condensed summary. And I want you to give me bullet points and a table structure for the output. Okay, so you can see there, I've used the RTF framework. I've given it a role that it's going to play, a task that it's going to do, and then how I want the outputs to look like. And this is very important in terms of getting the best out of ChatGPT. Okay. So it's doing that. Okay. And you can see that it's now giving me resources in bullet points. So strategies for rapid growth, deploy the church resource model. Okay. So now it's talking to me like a church planting expert. In the last time, it just gave some advice, but now it's actually giving me something called the resource church model. I'm not even aware that there's something called that. It's now telling me that there's something called the Quiet Revival Demographic Study. I'm aware of this study. It's talking about pastoral ratios, apply the 70% venue rule, then it's mandating a clear pathway for engagement. And you can see the table structure at a
No,
timeline
I can leave work at 6.
Sorry?
No. I go after 9:30. Yeah, go after 9:30. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Enjoy your day. Enjoy your evening.
Okay. So you can see that it's giving me an output that makes a lot more sense. Yeah. The other one was just a paragraph, but now you can see what it's giving me here. There's a lot of information that I can start working on just by, putting a format in. So the RTF framework is a great format. Always use a framework when you're prompting your language models. There's another framework called the Crispy framework. So now what I'm going to show you this time is that I'm going to go here and I'm going to ask it. So using the Crispy framework, can you write me a prompt to ask the LLM how I can grow a church to 1,000 by Jan 2027. Okay, so this is another thing I've done now. So now, rather than write a prompt, I'm asking it to help me write a prompt. And this is another powerful use case of large language models, because they understand how they think. So it will now give me a prompt that I can now use to get an answer for me. But in this case, I've specified the Crispy framework. You can specify the RTF framework, or I can take out any specification and just ask it to help me write a prompt. Okay, and then it will give me its own framework for writing the prompt. So when I submit that in, this is what we'll see now. Okay, so defining the prompts goal. So it's telling me what it's doing. It's showing me how it's thinking about it. Okay. Okay, and it's defining the framework. Okay. Yep. Okay. So you can see here that it's now said capacity, role, insight, statement, personality, experiment. Okay. So capacity and role, insight, statement, personality, experience. Why this prompt works, it sets boundaries, it provides context, it forces the format. Okay, so here, these capacity and role, insight, statement, personality, is giving a lot of context now. So in my prompt, this is what it's asking me to do: act as an elite UK church planter and growth strategist who successfully launched, funded, and scaled mega churches using the research church model. Okay, then it's now said on insight, I'm planting a church in the UK. It has given me a lot more. Build a massive launch team and target the rapidly growing 18 to 24 Gen Z demographics. Now, if any of you have been in the news, you will know that all over the world, there's a revival amongst the Gen Z, 18 to 24-year-old. A lot of them are now looking for their Christian faith. Yeah. So this is amazing. I didn't think of that. But now it's pinpointing based on its own understanding, is now giving me what is going to help me grow. And this is just what I'm going to put in to ask it to help me. Okay, so it's giving me the question to ask. Yeah. I can't remember which film it was I was watching. Yes, iRobot. How many of you remember the film iRobot? When Will Smith kept on interacting with the iRobot, they'll go back and forth, and then at some point in his conversation, iRobot will tell him something, you have asked the right question. Yeah. So the iRobot will go back and forth with him until he asks the right question. And this is what AI can help us do. AI can help us refine how to ask the right question. So it's giving me how to ask the right question. If I post this into the chat window now, it's going to give me an amazing answer on how we can grow the church to 1,000 members. But just saying this, I think, one of the things we need to do is to target this 18 to 24 demographic. Yeah. And yeah, we've learned something for TH from this exercise. Okay, so let's move on. So that's the prompt engineering frameworks. The other thing that you can do is to ask your chat model, what prompt engineering frameworks do you know? Tell me about your prompt engineering framework, and it will give you, based on current research, and then you can use that as a background to build up on that. Okay. Then a couple more things to talk about before we kind of round up for today. Context engineering. Okay. And so what we looked at in the last slide, excuse me, when we looked at the frameworks to talk about in getting our chat models to give us great answers. This is what context engineering is all about. Okay, so prompt engineering, context engineering, they're kind of the similar thing, but prompt engineering is actually the sentence that you've put in, that's the prompt, whereas the context is taking the whole conversation into account, asking the question in the right way. Okay, and context engineering is, how you can brief the AI on what to do. Yeah. So you can give it system context, you can give it a task context, you can give it an example context, you can give it a feedback context. Let me just talk about the example context. It's really important. So if you're asking the AI to do something for you and you're not sure that it knows too much about that, you can give an example. So you can say, for instance, I'm trying to help my children with their maths homework. And here's an example of some of the work that they're given at school. So you put that example into your prompt, and then it has a better understanding of what you're trying to talk about. Okay. And then it gives you a better response. And then when it gives you a response, the feedback context here is that, the image I generated, the horse was riding away from the castle, but I told you I wanted the horse to ride to the castle. Now, on the basis of that feedback context, the AI was able to give me a lot more on how best to interact with it for the next time. Yeah. Okay. So these are some of the things that we look out for when we talk about context engineering. Again, you can go into your large language model and just ask it, tell me about context engineering and how best can I use context engineering to help me to interact better with you. Okay. So that is the context engineering. Okay, right. So I'll move on to a final thoughts, and then we'll do some Q&As, and then we'll round up tonight. I hope someone has really got something out of what we've done today. Okay, so final thing I want to talk about is information architecture and why it matters. Remember earlier on, I talked about what we call garbage in, garbage out. That's, a computer terminology, is what you give the computer that it would multiply and give back to you. Okay, so same thing with your chat models. If your information architecture is not correct, then the LLM can only be as good as whatever information you are giving with it. Now, this is where I want to pose a challenge to you guys. And again, you know, I know I'm kind of talking about a few simple things, but these things are very foundational and they will help you as a person to get the best use out of AI. What do we mean about by information architecture? How do you organize your information? How do you organize your learning? The way you organize your learning, the way you organize your information is different from the way I would organize my information. So you need to understand how you organize information, and you get your chat model to understand the way you organize information. Okay, so that's on one level, but there's also the level of having all the right information in the right places. So let's first talk about having the information in the right places and what information architecture is all about. So it's how we organize our documents. It's how we can use clear headings, labels, structures, you know, how we can separate the ask from the examples. So it's being very organized in what we are asking about. Yeah. Now, sometimes when we think about stuff, it's all over the place in our heads. There's no problem with that. The large language model can help us with something like, you know, like a rant. So if you're not sure what you're thinking, how you're thinking, just start talking and drop all your ideas into the chat window of your large language model, and then now tell it to help me organize my thoughts in a way that I can prompt the large language model. So everything that you've said, it will organize it into a systematic way, and then you can go through that and say, okay, yeah, actually that's, you know, kind of what I'm thinking. Okay, and the large language model can help you with that. It can help you with your information architecture, but you need to understand, how do I process information? How do I think? How do I store information? Is a very, very important thing to understand for yourself in terms of how you can be effective in life. And, you know, it's not just about ChatGPT alone, but it's about everything. How do you organize yourself? It's so important. The more organized you are within yourself, the more you'll be able to get better responses from your interaction with the large language model. So here's an example here. So it talks about, you know, I needed to do some stuff for me to write some reports on for me from a board, and I need it for a board meeting. And look at what it has said here is a well structured. So again, using the frameworks for prompting, so the role, the task, the data that you have, and the format that you want it to come out of. That is information architecture. And the better information architecture that you have, the better you'll be able to get powerful responses from AI. Now, what I wanted to say as I round up and then give you guys the, you know, some time to ask questions. AI is a tool, and in life, the people that get ahead and make the most money are not people that necessarily know how to use tools. The people that get ahead in life and make loads out of it are the people that understand how to solve problems. So AI in itself is not going to solve the problems of the world. AI is another tool. And like I said, it's been around for decades. So it's been there, but people have been using it. Some people have made something out of it. Some people have just been users of it and not enriched themselves from it. It's a tool. The important thing is, how do I use this tool to help me achieve an outcome? So people that get ahead in life are people that understand how to get outcomes, and the tool will help you get outcomes. Okay, so we need to get away from thinking this tool is going to solve my problem, and we want to get to the place where we are saying, I am a problem solver. This is the problem I want to solve, and this tool can help me formulate a strategy to be able to solve this problem. Okay, it's a different way of thinking. And I've come to realize that, over the last few months that I've been engaging with it and reading a lot, far and wide in terms of artificial intelligence, it is a tool. It's not going to make you a superstar overnight if you don't know how to solve problems. So what you need to work on is your ability to solve problems, and it would help you. It will help you. So again, this is why I think information architecture is so important, because sometimes the reason why we're not great problem solvers is because our thinking is scattered all over the place. AI can help you bring your thoughts together. It can help you challenge your thoughts. It can take you down a systematic path of going from ideas to how I can actually implement this idea. Okay, so it can help you with that. So we need to get to the place where we are problem solvers. Okay. One thing that someone said, it was actually Tony Robbins. I'll just say it here, and he said this thing that people that get rich in this world, people that are very successful, they understand patterns. Okay, so he says they know how to use patterns, they know how to reorganize patterns, and they know how to create patterns. And that statement seems very simple, but it is very powerful. Everything that we go through in life is based on a pattern. God told Moses, build this tabernacle according to the pattern I have showed you on the mountain. And when Moses built the tabernacle according to the pattern that God has showed him, the glory of God came down, boom, it filled that tabernacle, it filled the people with the power of God. Miracles, signs, wonders, things began to happen because somebody called Moses was able to recognize a pattern. And there are different patterns in life that make people successful. Yeah. So AI can help us in terms of identifying, understanding, using patterns, and maybe even creating our own patterns for things that other people will follow eventually. So I will stop on that note. And I hope you guys have really gained something tonight. And I'm going to open up the floor for some questions and answers.
Hello, good evening. Obviously, I don't know what time it is there. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for organizing. I'm really glad I actually joined. I think the fact that, you actually went to learn about something and try to understand it and even then decide to share it with us is also just mind-blowing as well. And, it's just the right platform you need in a way to start, small and try and understand the real basics of it. And just going through the little task you were sending me and being able to even think about my practice. I just put in the chat there how I use it to kind of I asked the question of how can I improve the Google reviews of my practice. And just the thing that he brought up was just so practical. And it just helps you realize, even if you want to improve for something as simple as a Google reviews, what you're thinking and what actually has worked for many businesses are completely can almost be opposite. And the things he brought out, I'm thinking clinical, and the things he was brought out was really practical things. And I actually prompted it more to tell me, okay, how can I reach, I have a 90-day goal of improving it. What's the timeline? What do I need to do first and everything? And it just brought out really simple things that, you could work with. And I found that really, really helpful. It's kind of demystified a lot of things. There's so much out there about AI and I think in the health sector, the issue really is about, because we deal with humans, there's a lot of, data regulation, confidentiality. There's so much issues around it that a lot of GPs, those who are tech savvy, actually have already started using it for themselves. And you mentioned something about lots of data that you have to process. If you imagine patient population size, everything we work with is list size, disease list size. So if you're thinking hypertension, you're working with a register. You could have thousands of people on that register. Whatever disease model you're thinking about, its numbers are repetitive. And it just helped me see how some people who are already tech savvy can take advantage of that and automate a lot of the things that they can do. It's data, it's how it's anonymous, and how you can regulate it as well. Because obviously, when there are data breaches, so it's a whole sector that more GPs are kind of trying to explore, because burnout is real in the medical field, and with small practices as well. So I found it really, really, really helpful. And it's just made me just decide to go play around with it. And this is just the first lesson. So I really appreciate the fact that you actually decided to do this. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Tola. Thank you. Thank you.
Good evening, Pastor Lalu again. Sorry.
Hi.
I'm so sorry. I'm talking
By the
so
way,
much
you're
because
my star student for
yeah, I'm
today.
excited. I don't know why more people are not talking, because this AI thing, I discovered it like 6 months ago, and it has blown my mind. Like, I use it for entire programs. And when I was coming here, I was coming like, oh, let's just see what Pastor Lalu will say, But this is amazing. Like, I'll just quickly tell you one thing, and then I have 2 questions. So one thing I have done is I have gone into AI and I've asked it, based on the frameworks that you shared, the CRISP and the other one. I prompted it and I said, which prompt engineering frameworks are best for me to use as a heritage, culture, and retail creative in the UK. So I sort of streamlined it to my industry so it can give me. I can't even share the frameworks it's given me, because it has given me the craziest framework. And now it's actually helping me to plan 2 projects, that I'm working on. And these are projects I'm working with other creatives within large organizations. So like Dr. T said now, is just sort of, so I've used it, but the thing is sometimes my prompts I can have like a page long prompt. And and the thing with AI, the more you prompt it, the more low level it gives you. So it brings out so much information that I get overwhelmed with information. But this prompt engineering just sort of helps me to fine tune the framework and then is more specific to me. So thank you for that. On the back of that, I have 2 questions quickly. The first one is, so the way that I've discovered AI and I've been using it for the past 6 months, I don't understand why people use pro versions. Because my friends will tell me, oh, I have a pro version. And I'm like, even the one they've given us now is too much. Why are you using pro version? So my first question, I want to know why people use pro versions. Is there a reason? For instance, even in terms of design, I understand that some people use it for design, but in terms of design, I designed something recently, and my friend, like I showed my friends, I didn't tell them it was here. I said, guys, look at what I've done. And they're like, oh my God, your designer is amazing. Can you give me his number? So because I was trying to understand if it looked too unreal. So I did like a study group of 9 people across like age, societal class, all of that. I just did 5 different 5 different areas for me to do the study group. And all the response I got was positive. So number 1, regular versus pro. The second question, the last question would be, sorry, I wrote it down. Just in terms of intellectual property. So protection of intellectual property and storing creative information and giving it out to other users. So one thing that I used to do was when I put in my prompts, I'll tell AI, don't store the information, especially if it's a project I'm yet to work on. Because again, there's the thing about if someone else brings it up, and then because the prompt I give here is very, very granular and very down, very, very, I break it down. I'm also very scared about, okay, we did give my entire framework and give it to someone. While I understand that AI is helping me for my specific project, there's also the danger of, would my information go out, to other people? So those are my 2 questions.
Okay, awesome. And thanks for those 2 questions. So I'll answer them. The 2 of them are kind of interlinked a little bit. So in terms of the pro version, one of the reasons to use, a couple of reasons to use the pro versions. Number 1 is when you interact with an AI model, it places you in a queue for answers. It places you in a queue for answers. And so when you're on a paid version or a pro version, you are prioritized in the queue to get your answers. So there are some models like Claude, for instance, that after a certain number of words, it will lock you out and say, we're not going to answer any question until you're unlocked. So it places you in a queue. That's one. The other thing was in terms of your personal information. So when you use the free models, all the information that you put in the free models, it uses it to train the AI model. And it tells you that that's part of your terms and conditions when you sign up on any of the platforms. But when you use the Pro model, you can go to your settings and you can toggle off that version, that option that says, use my data to train the model. So you can toggle that off, and then it wouldn't use your information to train the model. So that gives you a little bit of privacy on the type of information that you're using. Okay. Then the third thing you talked about in terms of your intellectual property. So again, that's a big debate that's still going on. And it's going back and forth, especially in the US, on who owns the intellectual property of what is generated by AI. That's still going back and forth. But what you need to do is to show, so from a lot of research I've been doing, whatever you're doing in the AI, and this is where prompt engineering is so important. If the AI is acting on your prompt, then the intellectual property sits more with you. If you're getting AI to do everything for you, then the intellectual property sits more on the side of AI. So that's the argument that is coming up. So what I try to do with a lot of my prompts is that I'll rattle off my thinking, and it could be like a very long paragraph. So that even though it's not clear and it doesn't make much sense, and I get the AI to refine it for me, the AI knows that it's only able to structure and give an output based on my ideas. Okay, so that's why the prompt, the type of prompt that you give is very important. The type of structure of prompting that you use is very important, because you are providing all the background. And what you're saying there is that the AI would not have been able to produce this thing without my own involvement. The other thing that we're advised to do in terms of ethics and using AI, so anytime there's certain information that you have produced in conjunction with AI, like on your website or whatever, you could put a statement like, this thing has been produced in conjunction with AI. That's just on, some ethics that people talk about, but you don't have to. But it's good to let people know if there are things that were, materially, if there are material things that were certainly produced with the help of AI, then you need to talk about that. Yes, one more thing I wanted to talk about in terms of patterns and AI is that AI is a great pattern recognizer. But again, this is where your intellectual property comes in. So let me give you an example. In Africa, we use our Ankara material to tie babies on the back. So you could say something to AI like, oh, in Africa, this is how we carry babies, and it makes them feel more comfortable, blah, blah, blah. I want to come up with a modern way of carrying my baby on the back. And then you put in some pictures, you put in pictures of, the way we do it as Africans, you put in pictures of the way it's done here in Europe, and ask AI to come up with a new model or a new way to be able to do this. So what you've done there is that you've given it information, then it recognizes patterns, it uses that information to create something new for you. But again, that is all based on your ideas. So you can use it that way. I hope that kind of answers your question.
Oh yes, sorry, I was writing down. Yeah, it does. Thank you very much, Bill.
Okay, awesome. Patricia, you have your hand up. Please go ahead.
Oh, hi, Pastor Lally, it's Bossa here. Thanks so much for doing this. I was listening in. I'm actually out at the moment, so I haven't been able to practice using some of the examples that you've given, but I just wanted to say that it's a timely conversation to have. And so, for example, there's an advert that we're trying to put out that we got someone to do for us, and we didn't quite like it, but we didn't know what was wrong with it. And all we just did was just put it into AI and say, make this better. And it's done a lot and it looks much better, you know, and then we just put prompts in. So there are many things that you can do with it. Also at work, you know, I work in medical compliance somewhat. AI is used quite a lot as well, you know, even with meetings, you know, with so many things. So I just think that what you said about your workplace is really, you know, is interesting because we can't shy away from it. We have to just learn to adapt with it and work with it. Otherwise, we just get left behind. So thank you for doing this. And I'll practice when I have time and watch back the video. Thanks.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for saying that. And I will share the video so that we can all go back and review it. Okay. Any other questions? Any other comments? So just to say that the star students for tonight by way of contribution have been Bolupe and Dr. Tola. And for that, their prize is that I'm going to give them a personal 30-minute session where we can go back and forth on anything for AI. So please, next week, you need to come back here.
But I also spoke.
Participate.
What about me?
You. In fact, I have questions too. So good. Thank you. I was just thinking about it. So I appreciate that.
That's their reward for participating. Obviously, Mrs. Tony Okpebi answered you know, the question that we were asking today. So that was the prize question. So she gets some free time as well, even though she lives with me. Okay, Tara, I saw your hand up. Do you have a question? Please go ahead.
Oh no, it's gone. It's fine. We're at the end now, so
Yeah,
next time.
Sure?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay. All right. Anyone else want to ask any question?
Yes, can I ask a question?
Hi, Mimi.
Hi, good evening. Sorry, I
Good
joined
evening.
late. I actually forgot about the meeting. Can I join the 30 minutes you're going to have with Bolupe?
If she allows you, it's a prize for contribution tonight. But if she allows you, but we'll have this recording available as well, so you can go through the recording.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Hello. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Hi, Doc. Yes, we can hear you.
No, yeah. When is that session going to be? Because I just would be curious to know when is that planned.
So it's a personal session for you. So it's when you're ready for it.
So I can arrange it, yeah. Because
yes, you can
mine
arrange
is
it.
around how to go about. I don't know obviously if you know anything about it in the health sector and things like that, but it's really, I guess you can actually prompt even the search engine as well to actually tell you how you would going about introducing AI tools, actually even in general practice when it's not really big. What are the frameworks or, you know, the guidelines around it? So that's really what I'm kind of looking towards.
Looking to do.
Yeah.
So it's purely depends on the guidelines that you have within the medical field. With the rise of AI, one of the things I learned to use, one of the tools that I learned to use is a tool that deals with automation. And with those automation tools, AI doesn't get involved. So the information is kept within your repositories and all of that. But that's just called automation. So there's a lot of things that can be done from an automation perspective based on some of the tools that are available now. Where AI comes in is that if you want some type of intelligence around your automation, then you introduce the AI in there, and that's what we call agents. And what happens is that agent might have to read some sensitive information. It doesn't have to, depending on how you set up the system, but you can read certain information and then to have that information in the large language model. And, you know, people get scared of that because it's sensitive data that, you know, could be hacked into. But again, a lot of these companies have very, very secure systems, so it's not very likely that, you know, some of those things will get out there. But, you know, the security of information has to be paramount, and that needs to be taken into consideration. So there are loads of, you know, companies that are working on solutions in terms of doing that. One of the things that Tim Berners-Lee, the guy that was behind the invention of the internet, one of the things that he's really pushing for is in terms of data, personal data. And he's saying that, you know, every human being should own their personal data. So it's kind of trying to push things to a place where, you know, people, if you don't want your data to be out there, then people will have to take it off. And if people insist on using your data, then you can charge them for it, as opposed to what happens today where all these large companies are selling your data and charging people for it. So he wants to put the power back in the hands of the people where data becomes yours personally. And if that happens, there'll be a lot less attraction to stealing people's data because there'll be too much hassles around it. But that's one of the ways that that is being thought about for the future. But certainly there are ways to, you know, to work with that. But yes, when we have our session, we can talk about that some more.
Thank you. I mean, just to quickly add to what you said, I think it just makes sense why, and I think I didn't fully understand it before, the NHS is actually asking people to have access to their NHS accounts. And to actually be in control of your data and the information that's actually on your records. And I don't know how many people even here, you know, on the team actually have access to their NHS accounts, because the practical aspects of things is, you know, you can look into it and you can actually see things that you're like, I didn't know about that, you know, what's that about? And you can actually then query that. You actually know what's exactly going on, you know. So I think it sounds to me that, you know, you're, like you said, owning your data and you having control of it, and determining how you release it or something sounds like it's the thinking behind it. But yeah, thank you.
Yeah. And and again, that goes back to the thing of information architecture I was talking about, your personal information architecture. So again, everyone on the call is very, very important. You know what digital footprint you have out there. So I try to, you know, manage mine, and it's sometimes it gets crazy. So what platforms have you signed up to? What passwords do you have? You know, what email accounts do you have? All those kind of digital footprints, what bank accounts, anything digital, know where it is. Anything information, your personal information, know where it is. It's really important. It will help you not just for a digital age thing, but, you know, in life generally. Some of us are getting on, and we'll all get on. So even in terms of when you decide to write a will for your family to leave things behind, that's all part of your personal information architecture. What do you have? What are you going to leave behind? How are you going to disperse things? You know, so it's really important, and we have to think long and hard about information that governs our life. It's very important. Big companies are selling that information. They're making money off your information. So become an expert at your own information, and it will take you a lot further. Okay, well, thank you all so much for being on the call tonight. I really enjoyed, you know, delivering this tonight. And yeah, we're grateful for the opportunity to be able to do it. I'm going to hand back to Pastor Ayo to just round up the meeting, and then we will close.
Thanks, Pastor Lalu. Been an amazing session. Thanks, everyone. I think personally,